I'll keep it short. Theatrical dynamic range. Where has it gone? For nearly 30 years. I think most people didn't even know something was going on, but when these rumors were coming out years ago that DVDs were getting tampered with by Disney Studio, because it's been a bit of a confusion out there, like thinking it's Sony Pictures that are doing all this near field, and then no, it goes back a little bit further to Disney started it. And, most people will concur that Disney Studio mixes on all these overrated UHD Dolby Atmos or UHD whatever mixes just sound terribly appalling or atrocious sounding. Like doesn't seem to have much dynamic range. It just seems to go to a certain loudness and doesn't seem to go any louder. It's like it's been forced limited with audio limiting, or it's been, obviously it's been tampered with by re-recording mixers. Maybe not the original mixers. Sometimes it might be the original mixers. We don't know these things. The studios don't tell us. The studios don't tell us that, sometimes, very rarely, but it is very rare, very rare, very rare, very rare, very rare that a theatrical mix may be used. But with 30 years now of all this near field sort of going on, and 30 years, is it? Late 1990s when DVD came along, and it was like the early days of DVD. They had theatrical mixes, and some people were complaining, it's too loud. There's a thing on the AV receiver or some blue or some DVD players back then, depending on the model type or what, would have a dynamic range control, so you can switch it on and it would kind of tame the extreme loud dynamics on the soundtrack and reduce it by so much dB so it doesn't become annoying to those that don't understand the format. Yes, it can be annoying sometimes that some film mixes are loud, and it's been an ongoing sort of thing for quite a long time, many decades. Sometimes you go through this. Sometimes the film soundtrack changes into a different from analog realm to digital realm to, well, there isn't anything else. It is still digital, ones and zeros, and but it's like it's been a sort of trend. It's like, I don't know why. Well, some projectionists, usually very wise or such, or cautious and thinking, gosh, listen, rehearse the movie, and then think, oh gosh, it's bloody way loud somewhere. And it's usually, typically, it's going to be in the middle frequency range, because that's where our ears are sensitive to. And film soundtracks are only proximities. They're not. They can't recreate real life sound. It's impossible. But sometimes you hear this term "larger than life." Well, because it's just been simply amplified over a PA. Well, the speakers back in the heydays were different um, to what they are now. But generally, they're just PA speakers, meaning they can handle the dynamic ranges. And most homes with all these little tiny home theater speakers or whatever the heck they are, um, when you play loud sounds for it, they just sound incorrect. They don't sound correct to what you would be that you could associate yourself in with a commercial cinema PA system, typically JBL. JBL are used on dub stages to cinemas and some very few private home cinemas, because people like myself, I've, I've worked in the cinema. I've worked at cinema back in 36 years ago for UCI, and then last for Warner Brothers, and then that was it. I gave it up, and I'm retired now, so um, I'm just fed up buying all these brand new Atmos titles, this and that, a load of rubbish movies, and I know what the score is. When they go from, well, their short life at a cinema, for the studios to see whether it makes money or doesn't make money. That's what it's all about. That's all the studios care about. They've already got the near field mix pre-planned, so when that goes into, the little tiny studio recording room, and then they just tamper with the damn thing, reduce the dynamic range, change the alteration of the width of the LCR sound. Oh, fed up with it. And yet, it's years later, and some people will say, Laserdisc is way better. And then why so? Because in the very early 2000s, when DVD came a bit more popular, and I thought, okay, I'll buy a DVD now. I sold off nearly 100 of my Laserdisc titles just for the sake of DVD, and then finding out a few years later, oh no, they're just they're just near field mixes, and the Laserdisc had theatrical mixes, and I think, oh, for Pete's sakes, at the end of the day, to me now, it doesn't really make much matter. It doesn't really matter much to me. It's just all this stuff is just immaterial. Pack of electronics. It's not like my cats or anything where that my cats would give me love, warmth, and affection. DVD, well, it doesn't matter. The small little discs or even the gigantic laser discs, they don't give love, warmth, and affection. They're immaterial objects. But what I'm talking about is the principle here. Why keep buying all this rubbish, and you see all this misleading information written on the back of these Blu-ray or UHD covers, like better colors and all this. And we're now starting to know that this has all been a lie. The color, picture and all that. It's been manipulated. We don't know if we're getting legitimate a film that was filmed on 35, and depending on the film stock, etc., 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 are we seeing legitimate grain, or is that some sort of digital superimposed effect put on top of the image? So it's been a little bit DNR'd, it's been this and that, and then they apply. Oh my goodness gracious! It's like KFC. It doesn't taste like the 1970s anymore. It tastes like a poor chicken creature that's been wrapped up in a condom and boiled with breadcrumbs on top of it. It's just not the same taste flavour. And it's certainly not so, even the packing boxes and all that are different now, and even the name is different. It used to be Kentucky Fried Chicken. The evil Colonel Sanders taking those poor little creatures just so he can make money out of killing them and then serving them up in a box. Oh, to me, that is just plain degrading. Is that what we are? Anyway, and they just call it KFC now, don't they? And anyone could think, I wonder what KFC stands for exactly. What does DVD stand for? Dreadful video disc. It used to be okay. I mean, which titles? You got to get early DVDs because I think the whole mess with near field and reducing dynamic range started around 1998, and DVD I think came on the market 95, 96. So it's just a few years of people bitching and moaning. It's too loud. Well, why don't you turn it down then? That's what you usually do. That's what projectionists usually do in the cinema. If it's too loud, they turn that fader from 7 and turn it down. So therefore, the director, the re-recording mixers, they don't win, but they get the word. Oh, projectionists are turning the fader down. So you know what they do? They try to increase it a little bit more and just make it worse. So it's like, even though they still are uncompressed audio and uncompressed, they're not tampered with. It's all this marketing bullshit over many years when the format war DVD, HDVD, Blu-ray, and there's lossless audio. You know what? If I'll tell you how it is now with the soundtrack being tampered with, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like lossy audio. It sounds, and that's usually associated with something like that's, it sounds like, yeah. I've done comparison tests with Laserdisc, Dolby Stereo, 424 Matrix, AC3. DDS is, Anyway, I've done comparisons using titles that exist on Laserdisc and DVD, Blu-ray, and it's going to be UHD. Back catalogue titles, basically. Any new title today, it doesn't exist on Laserdisc. Laserdisc retired around 2000 on servicing or players and all that. They stopped a few years later. But it is the only disc format to exist to have theatrical mixes on it. And there's a lot of back catalogue titles. I just don't like the new crappy movies though. They're videoed or filmed or whatever the heck they're doing. It looks like they got a black stocking pulled over the camera lens, and it just looks so dark. I'm thinking, what's wrong? It looks like I'm watching a dying xenon lamp at a cinema that's got only about a few hours left on the lamp, and it is so incredibly dark and dim. It's pathetic how this industry has gone from something like up at the top, and it's just declining pitifully, shamefully. And I think it's just simply time now just to stop buying these movies, stop going to the cinema, because you're not going to see something that was once was film, filmed on film, and it look wow, the definition quality of it blew TV out of the water. But because TV was, and he had a certain line resolution, but it still looked good. And engineers over decades are trying to make the picture look okay by trying to solve the little artifacts that are sometimes associated with it. Everything's got artifacts. Even we have artifacts ourselves. Sometimes we if we look at a white ceiling or something, and then we could see all this dust in our eyes moving around. So that's if you pick up on that, then yeah, and you're going to think, oh gosh, oh, I'm seeing dirt and dust in my eyes. Oh no, that's going to imperfect the quality of my super mega diamond plus UHD image on my big ass LED screen with all the ridiculous nit high rate. Oh god, please. What's the point of buying any of this if it's going to be manipulated by the studios, and we're just going to get ripped off first time every time? You get all these stupid clowns on Blu-ray.com. Oh, I'm going to buy that on day one. Oh yeah, you're going to buy a near field mix, and you're going to buy something that you know full well it's been tampered with. You just want to buy that title just so you can stick it on your shelf. You're going to watch it once, and then it just stays on the shelf. Look, lots of titles over there. They just, oh, that it's the convenient disc format and whatever, or most of the titles probably over on those shelves I've probably not even watched in 20 years, or maybe 15 years. And I pick a title out that's on the shelf that I know that I've not even been near in years, and I think, I think I've got that title. I think somewhere. I think on the shelf. I'll go and see if it's there. Put it on the player. Oh wow, it still plays. Hasn't got any issues. And then all the laser discs are over there. I will have to stop eventually. I'm going to seriously have to stop buying laserdiscs because I just don't have the space, and those discs have to be stored carefully because they got the theatrical. But there's still plenty of it out there. If something gets broke, I could probably go and get another one, and it's going to be a theatrical mix. If you got a DVD title and it gets broke or whatever, you probably got to try and get the original packing and everything, because if you get something that might be a new packing and all, it might have been tampered with a little bit more. It's the small little disc, the DVD, Blu-ray, UHD. It's, to me personally, it's unreliable. It's untrustworthy because of all the near field mixing and the picture color manipulation. It's not necessary. If picture and sound was all put on disc 1 to 1, there will be no need to release those DVD, UHD, Blu-rays, whatever, for at least 20 to 30 years until the disc format itself literally changes. Oh, here we go again. We got to buy the same title again, for Pete's sakes. Oh, but the new players will still be compatible with the CD, DVD. You get what I mean? Yeah, you're going through that. Oh, and as for people buying this rip-off streaming services, Apple, Amazon, Kaleidoscape, that's all near-field mixes. It's rip-off. You're paying a lot more money for a Kaleidoscape bullshit service, and you're going to get ripped off. Your theatrical mix, no, ain't going to be there. You know, it looks like it's a theatrical movie, but it's not a theatrical mix. Unless you've got a Pioneer Laserdisc player set up or rigged up in the home with a respectable for catalogue title on your shelf, so you can show off your home theatre little speaker system. Well, it'll only go so far, but you get proper JBL in the room, and then you're going to be thinking, wow, is this what I've been missing all these years? And it's cheap because it's secondhand on eBay. Of course, you buy them brand new models today, but you can buy a yesteryear model and it would still be okay with to what is present. Because of our hearing frequency range, it only goes to a certain limit. So, you know, but it's these dynamic range mixes that are, yeah, just make me you know, I mean, the thumbnail I've got Braveheart. So I got Braveheart on AC3 Laserdisc. I've got it on DVD. I don't think I have it on Blu-ray. Not interested. No, I certainly wouldn't even touch it if it was on UHD or even 8K. I wouldn't touch it. It'd just be a near-field mix. It sound like it's, oh wow, loud, and it's got bass, but when you compare it with the AC3 and do some comparisons, and then think, I think they're doing a little bit like the CD here, the loudness war, and boosting something a little bit just to give it the illusion. And then there's some other parts here, and you know, you analyze it all the way through, and you think, what's going on there with this scene? And then you play the laserdisc, and you think, oh gosh, oh wow, it's like that on DVD, the UHD or the 8K. It's like that sort of level, and then on the laserdisc, it's like that. It's a little bit better, more. Hence, not getting too much ripped off. I think when I get the Trinov all rigged up, I was going to go in my room tonight, and do some connecting up all the rest of the cables. I'm just exhausted. I was going to go for fish and chips late this afternoon, but I thought, nah, call it quits, and I'll just leave it till next week, because I'll be overexerting myself, and I know what condition I've got, and you know, I just think, you know, if I push myself too much, too far, I'm going to collapse, and I don't need to have another blackout and fall over and hit my head on the pavement. Yeah, I just urge everyone to, you know, stop believing all the studio bullshit. It's all bullshit. We have all been misled for years. I think it's time. I think we just stop buying the shit, stop going to the cinema, and stop buying all these UHD Blu-ray discs, and then sooner or later the studio will get the message and thinking everything's declining, but why? What's going on? And then just, most people have already got crappy home theatres, and I mean really some dire crap. Home theatres in a box. Oh, for Pete's sakes, please. And most of these people have got pretty rich lifestyles and everything, and they got some really crappy home theatres out there. I mean, you don't have to have nice aesthetics. You just got to have the. I was just saying, get the JBL PA cinema speakers in your home. I mean, I see homes big ass than mine, and they got crappy, crappy little speakers. I've been there. I've heard that. They just don't deliver. You can make a little speaker try to sound as big as it can, but eventually you're going to hear artifacts like the bandwidth of the soundtrack. It's just breaking up. It just doesn't have that tonal sound that most people are usually typically associated with, like when you hear the advertisements play at first, and then the trailers to the movie, and you just hear how big and bold that sound is behind the screen, depending on the auditorium size, you know. And you go, get this, you go from big auditorium size, same film print, go down to a medium size, to a small, to a very small, or boothless, sort of, almost. But usually, I've read somewhere that, and this is what really puts me off going to the cinema now. It really does, because I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I wonder if it's a near field mix. Yes, I've heard rumours that some of the old back catalogue title that you typically see, like Predator back at the cinema again. That's not Predator, that's a DCP. And I've heard rumours that some of these movies have been having the soundtrack tampered with, and they're using a near field or the same cheap version that you get on Blu-ray, and you're paying. It's like you already brought that crap bloody Blu-ray or DVD or what the bloody hell it was, Predator, years ago, and everyone was saying the picture was god awful. I never bought it because I'm just laughing my ass off reading everything. I think, okay, I got it on Laserdisc, I got it on DVD, and I think, the DVD's okay with the discrete 4.1 sound, because it had original mono discrete surround on it on the mix. You know, but, you got the Laserdisc, and you got the uncompressed audio theatrical mix, Dolby stereo only, because the film was released Dolby, I think Dolby SR. Was it released Dolby SR or Dolby A type? Depending on the year and what sound noise reduction they want to use for improving the soundtrack quality. And then they got 70mm blow up, 6-track discrete, uncompressed audio. But saying uncompressed, any soundtrack is compressed. You got compressed sound effects or something, or something on it. Otherwise, you just wouldn't be able to fit all that onto the soundtrack. It just wouldn't fit. It'll overload. You got to mix and balance it, and But when it goes through these other processes of compressing it or reducing the dynamic range, cutting off the lower frequencies at 30 hertz or something ridiculous. Yeah, I just don't get it. It's because of who were the ones that were bitching and which people were listening to those whining clowns years ago. Oh, it had to be Americans. Usually is, because if if I have to remind you all about, remember when I think it's been dealt with now. Not that I know because I don't watch TV anymore. Um, that when when having movies on or whatever, and it goes to a commercial, it's like the movies like that sort of loudness there, so to speak, and you go to commercial and suddenly, bam, it's like that, and you think, what are they trying to? I don't know, what are they trying to put their faces in my face, or are they trying to put their loudness in down my bloody ears? Because I know when a commercial was coming up years ago, because like an ex-projectionist, I had this instinct, and I just standing by, and I just boom, turn the fader down because I knew it was coming up. Loud, bloody blaring music, and then bloody loud commercials for crying out loud. But I say, it's the same with trailers. Trailers are bloody loud, and you think, why the, I sometimes may may play the trailer a little bit less. If I was showing it to some, you know, I'll play everything at a lesser level, and then when the feature comes on, and then I'll turn the fader up. But making sure that it's not going to be total ear splitting, in the mid frequency high range. It's going to be, you know, because that'll just be off putting. You just want it to have the right amount of bass that you can feel with the right amount of mid high range, so it gives it transparency, detail, localization. um mm, yeah, what did I test? I tested Alien Resurrection. um there's one scene in the movie where all these aliens are attacking this space station or whatever it is, and then these aliens get into the escape pod. The escape pod, and this guy throws a grenade into it, and then the escape pod moves away, or moves away from the space station, comes towards, comes towards like that, and then goes boom. And what I noticed on the, oh yeah, you got all this bullshit on the home theater market with the Dolby True, the DTS, or the DTS Master Audio, and the Dolby True. The true, like true to master studio quality. Bullshit! And the Master Audio DTS. Bullshit! Because when it goes boom, I'm thinking, there's something a little bit weird there. It doesn't feel very impactful. And I thought, I've got the AC3 Laserdisc, put it on, play the scene. The fader level is still at the same level, not changed. And boom, I feel an impact in my chest. And I'm thinking, what the fuck's going on? And then, okay, next I test it with Spectrum Lab. And I could see that when the explosion thing goes off, it will give a certain color, like a red or orangey color or something, give a certain signature. And I did that comparison several times, and then I looked at the Spectrum Lab screenshots, and it was like Laserdisc wins and Blu-ray DTS Master Audio fail. Yeah, and they've been marketing and pushing that bullshit down your throats for years. That, oh yeah, it's studio quality. It's lossless audio. Bullshit. So you got a lot of dud movies. Most of you that buy all these UHDs in the tens or twenties, and these every damn week. Oh god, you're just piling your shelves up with near field, tampered with soundtracks every week. Oh, if that's what you like, then yeah, keep doing it. The studios like your money; they're enjoying it. You just putting petrol money in their rich ass cars so they can cruise up and down Hollywood Boulevard. It's shameless. It's shameful. So if we just stop buying it, the studios will get the message and think, "What the heck's going on?" And then we just make an announcement, or someone makes an announcement that we demand theatrical mixes and we demand all back catalogue titles that we have bought already. We demand replacement discs. And you know what? The studios ain't going to do that. They're not going to bother. They're going to think, fucking hell. But yeah, we'll just hold the studios for I don't know, what was it? Is it no, it's not ransom, is it? It's not blackmail. Um oh, we just hold the studio, So look, you keep doing these near field, we're not going to buy your titles anymore. We couldn't care less. I could I can move on and do a different other hobby, or I could just I can go and play those theatrical mixes on Laserdisc, and here's the finger for your little disc, your little small disc formats with your near field, and just turn our backs on them. They don't. I don't. They don't really own us anything. They need us to keep them. Yeah. Well, it's a sleazy business. Yeah, that's like I say, that's for all the theatrical mixes that played in cinemas and going from a large auditorium down to a small. Hey, guess what? It plays okay. It's not a problem, Houston. You know what I mean? But when it gets to home, oh, there's something going on. There's the standard thing. There's something not, and people start bitching and moaning. Why. I can't hear the dialogue. And all, you know why you can't? Because you're not using JBL Cinema Pia. You could have a small 15-inch or HF horn in a small room, because that's what small auditoriums would be using. And then you go up to a medium sized auditoria, and they might be using dual 15 bass drivers with a HF horn. You go up to a premier size, they'll probably use 4 15 bass drivers per screen channel, depending on if it's 35 SRD, SDDS. It might use the 8 channel format, 5 screen speakers behind the screen, 20 15 bass drivers with HF horn. And typically that sort of is a norm that those some cinemas tend to, or have. I have seen some installs in pictures where is it six bass drivers per screen channel with HF horn, so they can reproduce without much loss of the soundtrack, say Foley sound effects, body punches, music, bass, whatever, because mostly the screen channel are producing all the bass level. The LFE in film mixes is only used as and when as a complement to reinforce the soundtrack, as and when. It's not always active. But if you haven't got proper, most home cinemas, guys with 20 kJTR or whatever the bloody hell those things are called, they're just made for the home theatre market. They're not theatrical cinema speakers. If they were, they would be used in the cinema. Because often the bass cab is just a little different in the volume size, but some will say or argue, oh, big gigantic speakers are not going to set. Oh, please, what bullshit is that? You hanging around on AVS forum or something? You see all these other home theatres on AVS forum. Some people get JBL theatrical motion picture loudspeaker systems, and you get all these other stinking rich home theatre owners. And they buy this overrated JBL synthesis. Oh god, overpriced and overrated. And the speakers behind the screen, and in this, what home theatre is that on AVS, where something called the Hun, and what are those JBLs? That they're not motion picture loudspeaker. They're part of the JBL synthesis range, and they might be. It's just like someone paying for speakers that are extremely expensive when you could go out and get on eBay the real things, and they're secondhand and they're cheaper. Oh. One of the most popular theatrical mixes I like playing, mostly some with Dolby Stereo, and when it's up and running, the impact, even though all that impacting and such in the dynamic range is a little bit exaggerated, feeling that soundtrack on my body, because that's not how real sound works in the real world with the real legitimate dynamic range. Because there's a certain limit to how far dynamic bass range can go on a soundtrack, realistically, that is, versus the real world where soundtracks played back under very strict condition would only go to a certain limit, and yet the real thing in the real world would be something like that, and you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that, because it would be way too much, and it would damage our hearing, and it would just damage our hearing. But that's the realities. But when it's like something like that dynamic range on a film soundtrack, and then it's watered down and other frequency boost and manipulated just to give it some sort of BS illusion that it seems like it's loud, but it's like Apocalypse Now. Oh my goodness, how many did I test with that? So I got the first prototype THX Laserdisc that was supervised by Walter Birch and Thomas and Hellman, who was checking frequency and everything, so that it goes from film to disc and getting everything right. And then what the end result was, transparency. That was more or less a comment reply I gave back to Tom Holman, and saying that's how it should be. Tom Holman, trying to put things right years ago, and now, as it is now, it's gone into a total shamble of a mess again. Digital does not mean better sound. Analog sound's been around for donkey years, and when the THX program came along, it really made a big, huge difference with improvement. But no, everything now has just gone to thumbs down. If you want to keep buying these rubbish UHD discs with the overrated Atmos and the rubbish kaleidoscape, yeah, keep it. Keep going with it. I'm sure it's floating your boat nice. Uh, just trying to think back. I'm trying to think back decades. Mm, mm. Anyway, I don't think I'm going in the room tonight. Too exhausted. I'll probably do it. Probably do it when, at least, I'll probably do it when I least expect myself to doing it. I just don't have the energy because I've got to be behind that rack. I've got to keep moving back and forth, and testing and checking to make sure everything's working and I can connect all the leads up. So it's more or less in the same way as when it was on the other processor. That processor will eventually be boxed and sold or listed for sale. I think really it's like all this technology now. I think I'm just getting to a point where I just don't really give a hoot about the whole thing as a whole anymore. For me, listening to soundtrack can be extremely exhausting compared to most other people. I think, there's probably not on your toes really listening. Just hear it. You just hear it. And sometimes I think I'm just getting fed up and I just don't want to listen to it anymore and I'm just going to hear it. I've been there before. I might come full circle because I didn't become a listener until it was, oh gosh, sometime during the mid 80s when I became a listener. Otherwise, I was just hearing the soundtrack. I turn now and then to, I hear a sound over this direction and that, and I turn and look, but it's a little bit more than that. When listening, it's a little bit more. And it's the same with like looking at the picture or watching the picture. So I'm just looking at it, but I'm not watching it and scrutinizing it in for the detail. And then noticing there's something that doesn't look like film quality on this UHD. There's something a little bit iffy about the image. It's clear, but there's something fishy about it. And I don't care to have a 35mm projector in my home. Those things have got to be isolated very, very well so you don't hear the sprocket noise behind the projection port window or such. It's got to be very special so you don't hear any of that. Otherwise, yeah, I'll be honest, you can in a very quiet auditorium where there's the soundtrack's not playing, it's muted or faders turned down, and listen very carefully. You can just faintly hear it behind the port window. You can just faintly hear it, but in actual projection room, it's like almost close to 90 dB. It's bloody loud in the frequency pitch with the noise it's making as the film's going through some of the sprockets and then through the I think partly the film gate and the intermittent sprocket, where it makes this because it makes different signature sounds, and they all add up, and it just becomes almost like 90 dB SPL, and it's like, fucking hell, why am I in this fucking room with this bloody noise? You got to wear earplugs. But you get to other mediums, or you get to a medium that is not even the medium, it's the real thing. I'll just have an image here at the moment. Does it make a sound? No, it's quiet, unless I verbally speak or there's some other sounds going on that have been picked up, but it's pretty quiet. But when it's film and it's put onto pure color film and everything, and the resolution is brilliant, the playback system of it is very noisy. The cake platter, that's pretty quiet. So that's like winding the film off and winding the film back onto the cake platter. That's kind of quieter than the projector. So it's like, basically, it's like, I suppose comparing it with a spindle motor on a laserdisc player, a DVD player, a Blu-ray player, a UHD player, HDVD player, because the disc is spinning, the disc is turning, and the laser's reading the information, the moving parts, they're going to make some noise, frequency response, and it's like, which ones are, quiet? I think those IMAX cake platter things, they're pretty damn noisy. Heard one of those in a video. I've never heard one of those, seen one up in person, but with a video, and I can hear it and I can see it turning, rotating, like it's going a lot faster than a conventional other cake platters for film. And it sounds very noisy. So those IMAX rooms, oh bloody hell! I think you need definitely to wear earplugs when you're in those things, because look, if you're in it for many hours, listening to that, and that same constant noise, and it doesn't change. It's not like a soundtrack where it's variable, changing in level, or music that might variably change, or if you got some trash music, it just seems to be playing at the same bloody constant level all the time. Your ears can only take so much of that. But sometimes it might be ego, it might be hormones or whatever, and you think you want it loud or something, but afterwards you're going to be noticing like some sort of snags that you wouldn't notice with day to day, because day to day, sort of what we hear day to day, we don't hear music unless you put music on, or there's some music playing from somewhere outside, or something that you can hear. Otherwise, we don't hear music. Music has only existed since modern day, maybe modern day human evolution as such. When we developed the when we developed the advanced human mind, the advanced mind. Otherwise, caveman days, I don't think music was around. You know, I think it was just them going ugh ugh ugh. And it certainly wasn't around when T Rex was roaming the planet. Longer than we have existed on this planet so far, and then extinct by some natural cause. You know, dinosaurs have been around that long, and we've only been about that. It's not even like a blink of an eye, and yet the Earth has been around. Wolf, maybe that. The dinosaurs, maybe that. You know, and then we, us, yeah. But it's what something so tiny, and we and us have. I'm rambling now. Have destructively come up with things, very very little good, but a lot of wicked, like that Disney movie rubbish trash, or worn all up trash, Wicked. That's some garbage trash that I find so oh god, I find the trailer for that so bloody snobby and obnoxious. I don't know why it's so snobby. I think it's some of the characters and the way they do these things in the trailer, and it just looks so snobby. It looks like it's made for snobs with their home theatres, and they just want their Collider snobscape with their near field mixes, but they don't know they're near field. They don't really know. Most people don't even know. They got stacks and stacks of tampered with dynamic range near field mixes on their shelf. It's like CDs. It's like, oh, might as well get early copies of CD. I got some early copies of CDs, and some later ones. Loudness War. Oh dear. Oh. Anyway, that's enough loudness from me. Go out, do yourself a favour, dump the kaleidoscope, throw it in the. You know where kaleidoscope belongs. It belongs in my cat litter tray. That's where kaleidoscope belongs. Bloody rip off, bloody manufacturers selling junk. They got their nerve, haven't they? They got their nerve. Get a Pioneer Laserdisc player and some theatrical laser discs. You won't regret it.